So we've got this stellar panel, and I'm going to invite them up now. They're innovators who are using today's technology to revive circular consumption habits, making it simpler, seamless, frictionless. So panel, come on up and give them a warm round of applause.
Good morning.
Great. How are we doing on time? Pretty good. So we're going to spend about 30 minutes or so doing panel questions. There's online questions as well. I'll be looking out for those as they come on in. And then we'll be turning, as long as it all goes to plan, we'll be turning to you as well. So get your questions ready. I'll do a brief introduction of everyone, and then we'll get going. So we've got Ellen Jackowski, who's the Chief Sustainability Officer of Mastercard. Welcome. We have Andrew Savage in the middle here, VP Sustainability and founding team of Lime. We have Kate Spanner, the CEO of Beni, and we have Sage Lenier, the founder of Futureline and a Time Next Generation leader. And I'm Lucy Shea, I'm the CEO of Futerra. So we're going to look at digital payments, we're going to look at apps, we're going to look at engaging consumers. And Ellen, I'm going to turn to you first and say, you know, circular has been around for a long time, but how do you define circular or the circular economy in today's context, so the tech-enabled context? Could you start us off on that?
Sure. Well, thanks, Lucy. So excited to be here. And by the way, the bar is very high because the Solutions House panel I was on last year was the best panel of all of Climate Week that I participated in. So anyway, pressure is on, team members. So day one of Climate Week New York 2025, and here we are talking about circularity. So how do we define circularity? Obviously, you know, we've traditionally lived in this linear economy, right, of make, use, dispose. How do we turn that into circular? And kind of given who Mastercard is, we have over 150 million merchants on our network, 150 million places you can use your Mastercard all over the world, thousands of banking partners, and 3.5 billion cards in circulation. So if you think about 8 billion people on the planet, and we have 3.5 billion cards, we sit in a perfect position in the center of the global economy to help this transition to a circular, more regenerative economy. So really excited about how we can enable circularity now using digital tools, right? And a great example of that is a pilot that we have running right now, kind of two versions of it. One in Aarhus, Denmark. I was just there 2 weeks ago to see it, and another one in Blenheim Palace. Aarhus, I'll start there. About 55 of the merchants in the downtown area have subscribed to use reusable cups. Right, so if you want from a fast casual restaurant or cafe, a coffee, a beer, a soda, whatever it is, you go into the cafe, you order your beverage, it comes in a reusable cup, and the barista tells you, I'm going to charge you 5 kroner to use the cup in addition to the cost of the beverage. Enjoy it. And then around the center of the downtown, there's about 30 reverse vending machines. You finish your beverage, and you put it easily in that reverse vending machine. You tap your Mastercard or other card, and the 5 kroner come back. Right? So we've now taken something that was a single-use disposable cup, oftentimes littering the ground of the downtown area, and now it's gone circular. And we're using Mastercard Move technology, digital tools to enable that reverse, 5 kroner coming back on your card near instantaneously. You don't have to wait the 3 to 5 days that you typically have to wait for a return process. So for us, how can we, in the position that we sit, help take the friction out, make it easier to put that cup in that reverse vending machine, just as easy it is to put it in the bin next to it, which would have gone into landfill. So lots of opportunity for us, really excited about the circular economy.
Love that. Some time ago, we did a piece of work, or a white paper on circular, and based on the insight that waste is actually a data issue. It's all sitting in various different bits all over the place. So actually being able to apply data to this is a great way of actually closing that loop and build that system. I'd love to, in a moment, explore a little bit about some of those perhaps emotional paybacks that people are getting from participating in this. But first, Sage, I'm going to go to you and say, can you place us a little bit from the work that you do in where circular kind of sits as part of a kind of a broader thesis of kind of sustainability and engaging with people on climate and new ways of doing things. Could you give us a little bit on that?
I always say that circular economy is kind of my first love, and it's like the gospel that I try to preach, because I truly think that it is the ultimate solution to not just climate change, but the poly crisis of the ecological crisis. If you were to, tomorrow, snap your fingers, and the entire world is run on renewable energy, we would still be in an ecological crisis, because we'd still be extracting too many resources, destroying too many ecosystems, and overpolluting. Circularity solves all of those problems. And I also really want people to understand that our agenda is a popular agenda. Our agenda is a popular agenda. We are literally throwing away billions of dollars every day in the form of our trash. We're throwing away, the plastics that we throw away every single day, the single use, but also we're throwing away our clothes, we're throwing away our furniture. Basically every single thing in this room, from the shirts that we're wearing to the chairs that we're sitting on, are going to end up in landfill someday. And that's a design flaw, but it's also a tremendous waste of resource, and it's a tremendous waste of money. We used to be able to keep everything from cars to phones to washing machines in use for as long as possible. And now, because of planned obsolescence and the desire for corporations to produce more goods faster and sell us more and more and more, things are made lower quality, and it's harder for us to repair them. And that's a deliberate design tactic so that we consume more. But it's keeping us in not only a mountain of credit card debt, but deep ecological debt. We are consuming far more resources than the Earth can sustain. So going back to the way things used to be, or combining old traditions with new technologies to consume fewer resources and have longer lasting, more repairable goods, is not only the ultimate solution to all of these ecological problems, it's a higher quality of life. It's better for everyday consumers. It's better for us as citizens. I don't think you can make the argument that what is the best model, the best economic model for working families, is to have to replace their kids' wardrobes every single school year because the jeans wear thin, because the shoes don't last longer than 6 months. That's not good for everyday people, and that's not good for the planet that keeps us all alive. So moving towards an agenda like this, it is what best serves our communities and our society, and it also would be better for our economic system overall.
I love that, because the move that we've seen over this last few years is to kind of recognize that engaging in sustainability, or circular specifically, it shouldn't be a moral obligation. It's something that actually gives payback and gives benefits. So thinking about those benefits and how we can make them from the community level, even ladder down to the individual level, I think is really crucial. And also, you just sent me into a moment of my kids have just started school again, and it has been like, get the new things, because I haven't had time to get the secondhand things. But there's going to be some solutions to that coming up. So, Andrew, I'm going to turn to you and ask you a little bit around the role from your perspective at Lime. How has technology enabled your business model, and how do you see it being possibly applied wider as well? What's the role of technology in scaling circular? It's a big question.
Sure, thank you. If you think about one of the core tenets of circularity, it's the notion that not everything needs to be owned, that sharing things can actually be a much more efficient and less resource extracting mode of life. And so if you think about, this weekend, if I needed a tool to do a project, and I ringed up a couple neighbors and said, hey, do you have this? I could borrow that tool, return it back, and I don't need to have that thing sitting around for the one time that I might use it over the course of a year. We have brought that similar concept to transportation, where at Lime we have app-enabled bikes and e-scooters in over 30 countries, or an average of 30 countries around the globe. And the notion is that people can share the vehicles, and they don't necessarily need to own a vehicle if it's more convenient, and it enables them to utilize e-mobility more frequently. So on average right now we have 6 unlocks of rides every second. And so that just means a constant motion of vehicles being used and shared. And it is on the foundation of an app, and technology has enabled us to do that, to both enable users to find the vehicles that are convenient to them, to be able to quickly pay for them with a quick scan, and then on our own business side to be able to operate the vehicles themselves, to know where are vehicles available, are they in hotspots where the demand is high, and are there repairs that are necessary for those vehicles? So the backbone of the business really is a technology business, but the notion is, can we share things more frequently than having to own them?
Yeah, that's great. Are you finding that AI is helping with that the tech in the background, or where are you on that?
Sure. I mean, a good example of AI being used in the business is we have a requirement that riders take pictures of the parking of their vehicles to help improve parking, especially in highly dense areas where you have a lot of vehicles being used all the time. And so in places like Paris or London or Chicago or LA, you just need those solutions to help improve parking. And so we take those pictures and we can actually run them through an AI model to see whether or not people are parking well or not. And we can actually, do sort of big data with them, and instead of having to look at every individual parking job and figure out what do we need to do better, what do we need to inform riders with so they can do better.
Great, super.
I promise I'm always parking perfectly.
I'm sure.
Yeah, you're being graded on the parking. I like it. Kate, I'll turn to you, and I'd love to explore a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the platform that you have founded, and how are you finding you've been able to make it more frictionless for people to engage in not buying you?
Absolutely. So Beni was really started with this idea that there is amazing secondhand inventory out there. We have 300 million listings sitting in our database, sourcing from our partners at eBay, Poshmark, ThredUp, The RealReal, Vestiaire Collective, and then a host of others. The problem is that it takes still a lot of time to find secondhand clothing, and it is easier than ever to shop new, right? You can go on TikTok and you can find something, you can click on it, and in 30 seconds you can go from kind of awareness to consideration to purchase, and then it's at your house in 2 days. And so when you think about kind of bringing shoppers into that journey, that's the experience that they're getting used to, that's the experience that they're expecting. And when you contrast that with going to a thrift shop and sifting, or finding something and then going to eBay and then ThredUp and then The RealReal and scrolling for hours, it takes too much time and energy to do that. And so we said, okay, how do we make the sustainable choice, which now is the smart choice, right? It's like 55% average savings, it's cooler stuff, there's like cultural currency to thrifting, but the experience is just so hard. So we said, how do we make that easier, and how do we make the sustainable thing the irresistible thing? So we took the entire world of secondhand inventory, and rather than waiting for people to come learn how to thrift, we brought it to them while they're shopping. So we have a browser extension that tags along while you shop on any new site. You can find a product that you like and then click on Beni, and it'll show you where that thing is already listed on the secondhand marketplace, and then in one click get to that listing and convert. We now also have an app and a searchable site, so you can come directly and search the whole world of resale in one place. You can search by image, by brand, and really our goal is to make secondhand as easy and convenient as new. As we do that, I think a whole world of opportunities opens up, because now you suddenly create this environment where if in one click I can find the secondhand version of the thing that I'm looking for, all of a sudden brands have to start really thinking about, like, okay, I'm competing with everything I've ever made because it's all accessible to me. And when you get to that place, all of a sudden every additional thing that you overproduce makes it that much harder for you to continue to drive a premium price for the new thing. And I think at that point, that's what I'm very excited. The future where we're headed is like, that kind of flips the entire industry on its head.
Yeah, cannibalizes the catalog.
Well, I think, the other thing, just to add to that and to Sage's point, it's like right now we're in this terrible race to the bottom where it's like, how fast can we produce more stuff more quickly, and then you overproduce and then you discount it. And it's like, that's actually it doesn't lead to good outcomes for shoppers. It also doesn't lead to good outcomes for brands. Like, we've set up this system where only a few brands can actually compete and win there, and it's the brands that no one wants to wear. So I think and we'll talk about this as part of the solutions, but it's like, how do we reimagine that system? And resale is an amazing way to say, instead of racing to the bottom, resale is a way to ladder up, because you're getting higher quality things at the same price point.
Yeah.
And if the whole industry ladders up, you start to live in a space where you can compete on quality and storytelling again, which I think is really exciting for the fashion industry.
And again, I remember when we invented this swishing idea, which is the idea you come to swishing parties and you bring something you'd love to see go to a good home, and you take something for free back. And it's awesome, but we invented it about 18 years ago or so. That just the tech wasn't out there that could really help that. And now you don't really need swishing because there's Beni and there's all these apps, etc. But for me, it was something that could help to remove some of those barriers, the cultural barriers of secondhand isn't for me. It's got signifiers that aren't necessarily with who I identify as a person. I think that's shifted a lot in recent years. And Ellen and Sage, I'd love to return to both of you. And in your kind of opening remarks, well, Sage, I saw you nodding there about the cultural currency there of thrifting. And Ellen, you were talking about, just the ease of the case study at Blenheim Palace. Could you unlock for us a little bit what some of the barriers that you've seen to people engaging with circular, and some of the ways that you've managed to kind of leap over those barriers? So to either of you, as you wish.
Do you want to go first?
Okay, sure. Look, there are a lot of barriers, right? It goes back to the say-do gap. Everybody wants to live a more sustainable life. Like, the data shows that. People want to choose more sustainable things, but oftentimes it's more expensive, it's harder, the quality isn't as good or perceived to be as good. It's more complicated, it takes more time. So there's all sorts of things that we have to simplify. So, to Andrew's example with Lime bikes, one of the things that we're doing with our technology is tap and ride, right? Here in New York, if you want to get on the subway or the bus, you tap your Mastercard or other card, and you go through the turnstile. You don't need that old MetroCard. Remember the MetroCard, right? Or the Oyster card, or if you're London or in Rome or Amsterdam. We've now shifted to using Mastercard tap and go technology. And we're doing the same thing now with bikes, right? We have tap and go on bikes, where you can tap your Mastercard on a little
City bike.
Exactly. Yeah. Not City Bike here in New York. It's coming, and we need to work more closely with Lime on this. But you tap on the back of the bike, and you can get right on. You don't need to download the app, enter in your address, your payment information. 10 minutes later, if you're lucky, it all syncs and you get on the bike. How do we take the friction out, right? And to the point that you were making about Beni, Kate, this is really interesting. The Mastercard Economics Institute came out with data recently. What do you think the percentage is of online secondhand apparel that is circular? How many people, what percentage of all those purchases are circular? It's 27%. 27% of all online apparel in luxury are circular purchases. That is so much higher than I would have expected, right? Like, when the Institute gave me the draft paper, I was like, this is wrong. Go back, recalculate. 27%. For all mass purchases of apparel, it's 5%, also higher than I would have imagined. So the markets are shifting, and it is the perfect time, right, to make this behavior, to take all of those reasons why it's more expensive, it's more complicated, simplify, and we've got a lot of technology that, at least at Mastercard, it was invented for other reasons, like Mastercard Send that I mentioned with the reusable cups and the reverse vending machine. That technology was invented for cross-border transactions. It was not invented to drive circularity, but guess what? Some of our engineers started putting on their sustainability lens to say, maybe we can use this technology in these other ways. So there are a lot of solutions out there, and it's really, if we start applying them, we can simplify, make it easier, better, cheaper, or on cost parity.
I still get a moment of stress when I walk up to the metro here. I've got to get that card. And it's like, no, I can just tap now. That's amazing. And Sage, I'll come to you in just a moment. But Ellen, just the story you just told there about the Mastercard engineers applying themselves to that, How do you encourage that within Mastercard? Do you work a lot on the internal culture that can get people applying their own ideas to where you can take this tech and put it to these big world issues?
Yeah, for sure. And part of how we do that is our compensation model. So all 35,000 Mastercard employees are technically on the sustainability team, right? It's not a separate team that sits underneath me. We compensate everybody on our progress against our environmental and social impact goals. So that already, when you join the company, it's part of your new hire training, and we call it doing well by doing good. How do we grow the company? How do we scale? And if you look at Mastercard stock, we've done quite well over the years. So it is clear we intend to continue to be a growth company, but decoupling your growth from emissions is very tricky. And in 2024, we reported that we grew the company 12% net revenue, and our emissions reduced by 7%. So we're on that trajectory. So compensating our employees, having lots of education programs around this, and then finding these stories to share, right? And highlighting those innovators that do not sit on my team, but sit all over the company and are empowered, are licensed, are encouraged to put on the sustainability lens and think about the decisions they're making every day in their job role. That is part of the culture that we're creating. That's part of our onboarding, the training, the philosophy of doing well by doing good.
So important. There'll be more Solutions House sessions. Obviously not as good as this one, but there will be more Solutions House sessions on this competitiveness angle. One today at 3:30, I think, and Wednesday at 11, around how businesses can do that piece of getting profitability and revenue growth, but decoupling it from climate and emissions. So really glad you put that one in there, Ellen. Sage, tell us a little bit about, could you tell us a little bit more about the benefits piece? I know I've seen so much of your work is around education and outreach with communities. You told a really good story about how motivated you are on circular. What have you seen that motivates others to get involved?
Ellen, I think you're the one who's setting the bar really high for this panel, so I'm gonna put that in your corner. I often get asked, do you feel hopeless? How do you maintain optimism? All those sorts of questions. When it comes to climate change or whatever. I would just say that I feel optimistic in the sense that I don't think we've activated everyone we can activate. I don't think that we've genuinely built a culture or a norm around participating in the problem solving, and so I think there's so much more work to be done. And on the cultural piece, when I was an undergraduate at Berkeley, I was really frustrated with the education I was getting. It was very focused on understanding the depths of the problems and how bad the problems were. And I would argue with my professors on this because I was like, I don't think that they realized they had a generation in front of them that had grown up knowing that the problem is there and didn't need to be convinced or scared anymore, and that we were ready to learn about the solutions, and they just, as the people who had sounded the alarm since the 70s, like the foremost researchers, they were just so, married to their work, and all power to them. But that caused me to, I went and started teaching a course that I wrote myself when I was a sophomore at Berkeley, and it's called Solutions for a Sustainable and Just Future. And we really saw the culture on campus grow around that. My senior year I was teaching a lecture hall of 300 people, and that had just never been done before by an undergraduate. And there was a maxed out wait list. There were so many people who were so energized about this narrative and hearing about it from their friends, and they just wanted to be, for me, I just want to be tunnel vision surrounded by problem solvers and people who are focused on the action, the progress, the solutions, because I think that the alternative is useless. Cynicism doesn't get us anywhere, and we have a responsibility to be a part of trying to design the future, and if we don't get to complain about how it turns out. And so circular economy for me, when I was designing that framework back at Berkeley, was, like as I said earlier, it was sort of my bread and butter, the fundamentals. The first entire unit of it is circular economics. But I really saw how many young people were willing to lean into that narrative when we offered it. And so a lot of my work is now doing that. We do a ton of media. We have a new partnership with YouTube, where we're really trying to build a narrative, a public narrative, of a vision for what a better world could look like. Because I think the next chapter for the climate space And I hate that we landed on the word climate, right? Because it's, as we're talking about here, it's so much more than just carbon emissions. But you got to reach people where they're at. That's the language they're familiar with. We need to be putting forward a vision for what a better world could look like, something people want to buy into, something that's something to live for, not just a hill to die on. Not just, hey, call your legislators to block this terrible thing from happening, but how do we convince people that this is actually the most attractive version of the future? Because I truly believe that if our agenda was just more publicly accessible, if more people knew what we were trying to get done over here, they would see that this is, like, we would have a critical mass of people who want to lean in. I truly think that, we've done a fantastic job as the people who care about the planet at, sounding the alarm, and it was very necessary. But we've given the general public a sense of danger without a course of action. And it is our responsibility now to change that narrative and to put solutions in front of them, because I think that people are ready to be activated, and they're just looking to us now.
Please do come in, because anyone who knows me at all is I'm nodding so vociferously because I do agree. But Kate, come on in.
I think it's really interesting. One of the things when we started Beni and we thought about, like, how do we want the brand to come to life, it was really interesting to kind of go on this journey where our mission is so focused on sustainability, but actually what we talk about is not that. We talk about style, we talk about price savings. I think we learned pretty early on, or just have this kind of general belief that, like, it's really hard to change behavior with shame. And you can't kind of, like, wag your finger and say, like, I can't believe you're buying Zara, like, that's so bad, because I think people don't want to live in the consequence. They want to live in the upside. And so to your point, it's like, how do you, like, to me, the future is that we're not even talking about sustainability. It's like secondhand just is the obvious choice, because you're getting higher quality things at better prices. You're getting more unique things. You're like, I'm selling you style. I'm selling you affordability. And sustainability is the gift with purchase. And when you can get to that place, it's like, it feels good to make the decision, and people want to kind of virtue signal, like, I thrifted this, and that gives them, that's the cultural currency. But I think sometimes we struggle to make the progress because we're trying to deliver the message through sustainability rather than delivering the message through culture, the things that we know are actually driving more behavior. And so I think when we think about that, like, intention action gap, the intention is so there and people love talking about it. I think the action is just driven by so many other factors in our lives. And so it's like, how do we go address those things? And when those things come together, like, what a powerful, what a powerful solution.
Exactly. I mean, we firmly believe it's not a gap, it's a big barrier. It's a huge set of barriers, as Ellen's outlined and others have, that need designing for jumping over. Andrew, I'm going to come to you, and then we'll take some questions from the floor. Partnerships. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because it's been mentioned, Ellen's already said, well, we need to work more with Limebike for the next round. I mean, evidently partnerships are important in this space, but specifically on circular, what's the role of partnerships? What collaborations do we need? And again, for Lime or more widely?
Yeah, thanks. And I think I'll give a few examples, maybe one at the beginning of life and one at the end of life, because at Lime, we really have to think not only about how do we create an economy where people can share, but how as a business can we be as sustainable as possible, right? We could have a lot of people sharing a lot of bikes and scooters, but if we're not doing our job as a business, that's not a very sustainable practice, right? Someone should just own the vehicle, for example. So at the beginning of life, in terms of accessing a ride, we have had a long-standing partnership with Uber where you can go into the app, you might be looking for a car, you might be looking for an Uber ride, and you are prompted for and given an option for a bike or scooter. And if you look at that, very, very often, it's cheaper and it's faster and it's a heck of a lot more fun. But maybe that metric doesn't show up on the app. But I remember going to London a few months ago and was coming from north of the city and looked at the app, and it was a 40-minute Uber ride, a 32-minute bike ride, and it was 3 or 4 pounds less. So, you can look at that throughout markets around the globe. And so right there, you're creating a user experience where people don't actually have to choose sustainability as their primary motivator, but it could be the second or third option, but they've just saved money and they've had more fun and they've saved time. And frankly, they're just connected to the community better. So that's a partnership that has driven enormous benefit to us. One of the things that we measure all the time is how many car trips can we be saving because of the mode shift from from a car to a bike and scooter. And so reducing that friction and having that option available in a ride hailing, with a car sharing app is motivating and incredible. And if you look all the way down the line at the end of life of our vehicles, we work really hard on repair, reuse, refurbishment, and then within our own warehouses. And then if we have to, partnerships with end-of-life providers where they can actually take rare earth materials from batteries, get those back into the electric mobility supply chain, a partnership with Redwood Materials, which is a growing battery recycler in the United States and globally. Another great example is with e-motors, where cyclic materials can now extract rare earth magnets and, again, get those back into the electric mobility supply chain. So as e-mobility becomes more and more commonplace, we, as a participant in the industry, need to be working with partners to help enhance the amount of circularity that can go on so that our products can live longer in perpetuity in the supply chain. Part of that work has enabled us to cut our carbon emissions intensity from 2019 to 2024 by 68%. We are on a path to net zero. That's an ambitious one, but we are now 2 years ahead of that carbon intensity goal. So our hope is to keep that trajectory going through the partnerships, through continuing to innovate and using technology and using our know-how for how to run the business well, but also how to partner with businesses that can help us get there.
And I think what's very interesting for Lime and for other businesses who, whether they call themselves climate solutions businesses or not, are part of that, is that actually your intensity target is hugely important. Keep going on that. But the impact and influence you can have in enabling others to reduce their emissions, that avoided emissions concept, I think is where we also need to see a lot more energy. So that's great to hear. Sure. Ellen, were you wanting to come in on the partnerships piece, or?
Nothing in particular, but obviously, especially, again, as I mentioned, where we sit in the global economy, it doesn't work unless we partner, right, with companies like Lime or Beni to accelerate this transition, right? So the things that we can do through Mastercard technology, making our merchants like Lime on the network do better, be more successful, like that helps them, that helps us, that helps consumers, that helps the planet. So obviously this is essential. We all rely on each other, and it's so exciting to see new models like what Beni is coming up with. And especially when we put the AI lens on this and agentic commerce, right? Here's a whole new world where AI is going to be helping us decide what we're buying, where we're buying it, how we're buying it. They'll just buy it, right? The AI will buy it and stuff will get sent to us. What's really important in that new world is how are we making sure that technology, that the AI is programmed, the learning model is programmed to make sure that sustainability is a top criteria, right? So it's baked in. Back to the intention and the action, it's baked in. You don't need to kind of add it separately. It's part of the equation that shows you have a cheaper price. You have faster delivery because it already exists. It doesn't need to be, made new again. Yeah. So a whole new frontier.
100%. Amen to that.
If I can jump in really quick.
Yes, please. Yeah.
What I wanted to also say in my last question is I really wanted to give you guys your flowers, especially because the bigger part outside of us not quite having a culture on it is not having the infrastructure. So these kinds of companies are the infrastructure that makes it the easiest, most culturally accessible solution possible. And the work that you're doing in Mastercard, trying to make it so frictionless for the consumer or the individual. I feel like we shouldn't call people consumers. We should call us citizens again. But for the individual, for the citizen to be able to be enabled in the most fruitful and culturally easy way. Yeah. I'm on the advisory board of Futerra Early Growth Fund. It's a circular economy fund focused on growing startups into that next stage. So we're very passionate about finding those companies that can enable that infrastructure, the cultural traction, so that when I walk into Whole Foods, when I'm going around the city on a bike or whatever, the choice that's right in front of me, whether it's the packaging or the coffee cup or the bike, it is the most easy, culturally accessible, and fun, to the point of the Lime scooters, choice that we can make.
Brilliant. Oh, yeah. And I think we should, measuring the fun that people have, I think is a really good idea.
I think often in like climate solutions or in sustainability solutions, it often has been this like notion you've got to like grin and bear it.
Yeah.
And we just have to get away from that and be able to provide elegant solutions that are enabled by technology, solutions that give people some joy and reduce friction to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So you've got to be able to provide those things that enable people to make choices that they otherwise wouldn't make. But then when it's available to them, they realize, well, this works for me.
Yeah. I'm a great believer in make it fun if you want it done. All right, now, Ellen sets quite a high bar. This has got to be the best panel in Climate Week. So I'm now going to turn to you, audience, for some good audience and some questions. And team, have we got any handheld mics wandering around? I think they will be coming out. Thank you, Nadia. They're coming out momentarily. And Nadia, I might give you the job of actually just coming to people as you see the hands. But let's get some hands up. And we've got a nice kind of group in the middle here. And I think we can we can certainly take 3 or 4 to start with. So we'll get a mic coming down and some questions here.
There's a lot of pressure on you guys to make this a great panel here.
Thank you. Okay, we're coming. So...
Oh, boy.
Yeah, sorry, Nadia, over to you for choice of hands.
Oh, my gosh, who wants it the most? Thank you.
Right.
Are we on? Magnificent. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you could keep your questions quite short, it would be hugely appreciated.
We'll do so. First, want to thank you all for all of the technology. It's great that you're bringing that into the world. As we speak about technology and the digital divide, a lot of times we don't talk about the power implications with that. And as we're talking about AI, we're also talking about water implications with that as well for supercooling. So are you all doing anything in the back end to invest in the infrastructure and letting businesses like Mastercard, letting your story know that other businesses should be doing this as well, and like investing in clean energy uses? Because as long as we're just transitioning to digital, it's an invisible carbon at that point if we're not thinking about the power that it's being generated for it. So
it's a great question. Thank you so much for bringing that in. So we'll just take a couple more and then we'll spin round. Could you pass the mic on? Yes, please, Nadia. Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, waving hand.
No shame. Hi. Thank you so much, of course, for the panel. So my question is actually about an ugly aspect of circularity. First of all, huge fan of circularity. But in my work in furniture, I've done a lot of research on PFAS and some of the other toxics that are part of our current flow of products that we put into the circular economy. So I know it's a big question, but what are your views on how to address, for example, PFAS continuing to be circulated in products through circular solutions?
Yeah.
And then also microplastics, like the cup. It's such a bummer, but plastic cups being reused and recirculated microplastics. So just like,
great.
If you can touch on those. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll circle around and then we'll take one more in this round.
Great. You named yourself.
Thank you. Speaking of names, my name is Seema Chaturvedi. I actually invest. I run an impact fund investing in circularity. The problem with innovation is, it's not a problem, it's a transient problem. The ultimate customer, which is typically a legacy business, and we invest in B2B, so not D2C, are slow to move and slow to adopt. Alan Hay, saw you in Davos. What can you advise the legacy businesses to become more enablers of innovation in a manner that can accelerate circularity?
Fantastic. Yeah, we talk a lot about born good and born again. So what can we do with those born agains? All right. So the question around just transition and equitable, who would like to jump in? Yeah, great, Andrew.
Sure. To the first question, I think it's an incredibly good one, because if you're not running the business well, as I mentioned earlier, you sort of throw sustainability out the window with circularity, right? We made a commitment when we started our first electric vehicle back in 2018, I think it was, that all of our vehicles would be charged on renewable energy regardless of where they are in the world. So that's been a commitment we've made, and really happy to say that that's something we've been able to expand to all of our warehouse facilities as well. So 100% renewable energy was one of those foundations of, hey, if we're going to offer an electric solution as a product, it better be on renewable energy. And we've also deepened that commitment by contracting with green tariffs with local utilities, so that we're actually within markets that we're operating, when it's available, we can actually go to the utility and say, hey, we want this green tariff versus just a general grid tariff. And that pushes them by having more and more companies say, hey, we want this green option to produce more renewable energy and buy more renewable energy. So I think that's a really important one. You've really got to think about how business is being run to be able to think about, are you doing it right?
Sorry, go ahead, please.
Oh, I can add to that too. I mean, we use a ton of AI, right? Like we have 300 million listings in our database. They're changing over 1 million every week. We're like ingesting, normalizing, enhancing all of these listings to make them searchable in a matter of seconds. Takes a ton of technology. I think I'm a big proponent of like progress over perfection. So it's like we're trying to solve this one really big thing. There's certainly like side effects of that. I think for us, we're still a small company. It's like what we're doing is just being really intentional about it and asking the right questions and making sure that that's top of mind. So we have some blog posts I can send you to that kind of like outline our use of AI and technology. The other piece, though, is that it's all computing power. And so from a business perspective, we're a scrappy 5-person startup. It's like we need to find solutions to make it affordable for us to do. And so we're the same way we're trying to not use as much power, we're also trying to like save on costs. And so I think running the business efficiently also should help incentivize you to, do that efficiently too.
I will be quick here. I would say that question is actually why circularity is the solution that we need to be pushing, because the renewable energy transition on its own is just not enough. Every single year, our total global demand for energy increases so much that all of the renewables we build each year are just offsetting the additional demand, and we extract more fossil fuels. And 2/3 of our global emissions are happening in the supply chain. It's happening because we're mining metals and we're growing cotton, and we have these globalized supply chains for all of our stuff. So going back to circularity, more long-lasting, making sure, or like starting to invest in, higher quality goods and turning back the dial on this ridiculous like overconsumption machine is the ultimate solution to climate change. It is the ultimate way that we are going to reduce emissions. So that's why I'm so passionate about circularity. I think about energy is half the battle and circularity is the other.
Yeah, great, thank you. The question around toxic circulating and microplastics. Ellen, I know the Mastercard do a lot of white papers, but have you touched on that in any of from the institutes or?
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that we've done, obviously, when you think about the credit card itself, it's often made from plastic. So we made a new rule on our network that by 2028, all Mastercards need to be produced by either bio-based or recycled materials, so no virgin plastic. Now, of course, this is in the context of a digital-first strategy. So as you're all probably noticing, you're using your physical card less, right? You're tapping your phone or your watch or some other device. So eventually, we're expecting those physical cards to kind of disappear and no plastic is needed, even if it is recycled or bio-based. So we're thinking about that. But you definitely raise good questions about as we move to more circular, how do we make sure, how do the merchants on our network, since we don't produce the things that you all are consuming, how do we make sure that the right materials are being disposed of in the proper places and that sort of thing? So obviously that's a big question that I think all manufacturers need to really think through, and we continue to learn more, right, as we understand.
Yeah, and there's some great guidance out there, isn't there? Like the Cradle to Cradle Institute and the gold standard, making sure that good goes in order for good to come out. But yeah, it is an ongoing question. And then our final one around how we can encourage legacy business to be more enabled in this space. Anyone want hands up for that?
I can go. I think what makes me really optimistic, especially in our space, is that it's being led by the shopper. And so I think as you can stay really focused on the shopper and their experience and drive that behavior change, like legacy brands who maybe have resisted getting involved in re-commerce, like suddenly have to participate. Secondhand is growing 5 times faster than primary retail. And so if you think about like, okay, you have this conversion funnel and everything drives to purchase, and then it goes into your closet, and then it goes to Poshmark, and then someone buys it off Poshmark, and it goes, it's like everything starts to happen below the surface, and if brands don't participate, like they just get cut out of the equation. And so I think, I don't know, it's not a threat necessarily, but it's like I think the writing is on the wall, at least in fashion. It's like the re-commerce revolution is here, and like e-commerce, you either going to get on board or you're going to get left behind. And I think the faster brands see that, the more exciting opportunity is to kind of welcome them into that journey and turn this like conversion funnel into a flywheel that actually rewards the brands that participate.
Right.
And I think that goes back to that 27%, right? I was in Heathrow the other day, Heathrow Airport, duty-free shopping. Do you think about sustainability when you think about duty-free shopping? Maybe not so much. There I was, and they had secondhand purses in duty-free shopping in Heathrow Airport. And there I am taking pictures like, I don't believe this. Like, it's here. But exactly to your point, like, the market is changing. You all are driving this behavior. It's becoming so much more popular, and it's really an exciting time to be in the circularity business.
It really is.
I would also add that traditional businesses, and thinking like mom and pop stores in cities around the globe, they're some of our biggest advocates because they see that when people are on a bike or a scooter, they're more apt to stop, pull over, see something, pull over, stop, because they don't have to go around the block and try to find parking. So they actually know, and there's a lot of data that shows this, that people spend more money in their economy, in their local economy, when they have greater access to the community. And so in many ways, like, these really traditional businesses are part of the backbone of how to be a more sustainable city.
Yeah. I've always think the mom and pop dry cleaners, the tailors, they are the underpinning and the infrastructure for us all to be able to keep our items going longer. Okay, we are getting out of time. I'm going to do one word from each of you on what you're most excited about. And you kind of already started going there as well, but what you're most excited about for the future of Circular, Kate. But you could have 2 words if needs.
Fostering community.
Oh, nice.
Man, I didn't know the second.
Deploying capital.
Deploying capital. Great.
Creating value.
Great.
I would say scale.
Scale. Okay. Can we give a warm round of applause to these fantastic sets of innovators?